Today we're exploring a game changer in the food industry, lab-grown meat. How do scientists turn a few cells into a juicy, sustainable steak? Stick around for over 10 minutes of mind-blowing science, and let's get cooking.
Well, I think most people just don't realize that the current meat production is at its maximum, and it's not going to supply sufficient meat for the growing demand in the coming 40 years. So we need to come up with an alternative, there's no question. And this can be an ethical and environmentally friendly way to produce meat.
What exactly is lab-grown meat? Also called cultured meat or cell-based meat, it's real meat grown from animal cells in a lab, without raising or slaughtering animals. It's not plant-based meat like Beyond or Impossible burgers. Those are made from veggies and proteins. Lab-grown meat is biologically identical to the meat you get from a cow, pig or chicken, but it's made in a controlled environment. Why does this matter? Traditional livestock farming uses massive amounts of land, water and energy, and it's responsible for about 14.5% of global greenhouse gas emissions, according to the FAO. Lab-grown meat could slash that impact while feeding a growing population. Plus, it's cruelty-free. But how do you go from a tiny cell to a burger? Let's break it down. The process starts with a small sample of animal cells, usually taken from a living animal through a painless biopsy. Think of it like taking a tiny pinch of muscle tissue. No harm done. These cells are often stem cells, which are like the body's master builders. They can turn into muscle, fat, or connective tissue, the building blocks of meat. Once scientists have the cells, they place them in a bioreactor, a fancy tank that acts like a high-tech womb. The cells are fed a nutrient-rich liquid called a growth medium. This is like a supercharged smoothie, packed with sugars, amino acids, vitamins, and growth factors that tell the cells to multiply. The bioreactor controls temperature, oxygen, and pH to mimic the animal's body. Over a few weeks, the cells divide and grow into muscle fibers to make a structured piece of meat. Like a steak, scientists use a scaffold, a kind of edible framework made from materials like gelatin or plant-based fibers. The cells grow around this scaffold, forming the texture and shape of real meat. It's like 3D printing a burger, but with living cells. Sounds simple, right? Not quite. Growing meat in a lab is crazy expensive and complex. One of the biggest hurdles is the growth medium. Early versions used fetal bovine serum, which comes from cows, making the process less ethical and super costly. Today, companies are developing plant-based or synthetic alternatives, but scaling those up is a challenge. Then there's the cost. In 2013, the first lab-grown burger cost $330,000 to make.
The world's first lab-grown burger has been cooked and eaten at a news conference in London. Scientists took cells from a cow and turned them into strips of muscle, which were then combined and made into a patty.
By 2025, companies like Upside Foods and Good Meat have brought costs down to around $20 to $50 per pound, but that's still pricier than traditional meat. To compete, they're scaling up bioreactors to factory-sized systems and optimizing cell growth for efficiency. Another issue is texture and flavour. Early lab-grown meat was more like ground beef, great for burgers but not steaks. Now, innovators are using 3D bioprinting to layer muscle, fat and connective tissue for that perfect marbled ribeye. They're even tweaking the growth process to enhance taste, so it's as juicy as the real deal. The lab-grown meat industry is booming. Companies like Mosa Meat in the Netherlands, Aleph Farms in Israel, and Eat Just in the US are leading the charge. In 2020, Singapore became the first country to approve lab-grown chicken for sale. And since then, restaurants in the US and Europe have started serving cultured meat. But what's next? Experts predict that by 2030, lab-grown meat could make up 10% of the global meat market. Imagine walking into a grocery store and picking up a pack of cultured pork chops or chicken nuggets, all grown in a lab just miles away. It's not just about food security, it's about reimagining how we feed the planet. Still, there's pushback. Some farmers worry about losing their livelihoods, and consumers are skeptical about Franken meat. Will it taste the same? Is it safe? The FDA and USDA have given it the green light, but public perception is a hurdle. What do you think? Would you try lab-grown meat? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Let's talk benefits. Lab-grown meat uses up to 90% less land and 80% less water than traditional farming. according to studies from Oxford University. It could also cut methane emissions, a major driver of climate change. For animal lovers, it's a no-brainer. No slaughter, no suffering. But it's not perfect. Scaling up requires energy, and if that comes from fossil fuels, the environmental gains shrink. Plus, transitioning millions of farmers to new roles is a massive social challenge. Still, the potential is huge, and companies are racing to make it sustainable and affordable. And there you have it, the incredible process of making lab-grown meat from a single cell to your plate. This is just the start for the future of food, and here at RealHow, we'll keep bringing you the inside scoop on how things are made. If you loved this deep dive, give us a thumbs up, share this video with a friend, and subscribe for more. Want us to cover how something else is made? Let us know in the comments. Until next time, keep exploring, and we'll see you in the next one.